Hey there everyone, my name is Brendan and welcome back to the Crypto Analyst channel. And man, there is a lot of stuff happening in the world of cryptocurrency at the moment. And it's not just what we're seeing on the fundamental side of things through the news, but also what's happening on the charts, because we are seeing a lot of volatility come in on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and most of the mainstream altcoin market as well. So the theme of today's video is going to be beware the bear trap, because there's a lot of FUD. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt circulating in the world of crypto today. And my goal of this video is to not only talk about everything that's going on, again, the fundamental and the technical side of things, but also clarify a lot of the FUD that we are seeing around this whole Bitcoin ETF approval or Bitcoin ETF delay thing that we're seeing come out, because the narrative has completely shifted from a few days ago, where we went from a Bitcoin ETF is imminent to the Bitcoin ETFs are getting delayed or rejected. Now we're back on to a Bitcoin ETF approval is very imminent again. And again, I just want to kind of clarify this whole thing, because I'm sure a lot of people have been watching the charts and going, why is Bitcoin up 10%, then down 11%, then up 5%? What is kind of happening here? Is it manipulation? Is it justified? And I guess that's the question that we're going to answer by taking a look at everything that is happening today. So let's start with the news first. Is the Bitcoin ETF still on? Is it rejected? Is it delayed? Is it already approved? Like, what's happening here? And for this, I think we can go to the first story that I mentioned on the Crypto 101 podcast channel a few days ago. So if you missed that, this is going to be great, because you're not going to have to hear it regurgitated. But I know a lot of people, might not have seen that video. Again, you can go check out the Crypto 101 podcast YouTube channel. I make a lot of videos over there. But for the people, again, who didn't see that video, basically we have this statement that says the SEC has postponed the approval for Bitcoin spot ETFs from Global X, Franklin Templeton, as well as Hashdex. So when this whole thing kind of first came out, the misconception here was threefold. Number one, that all of the Bitcoin spot ETFs were delayed. It wasn't the case. The other kind of misconception is that this included all the Ethereum stuff. It's like, oh, well, that's all getting pushed back. And then the third one here is, again, that just like this was a rejection. This was this really bearish bad thing, when in reality it wasn't. If you look at most of the big names, they are not mentioned on here. I'm talking about BlackRock, Grayscale, Invesco, Fidelity, Van Eyck. The list goes on. Like a lot of these really, really large financial institutions and asset managers, they were not mentioned at all in this whole Bitcoin delay scenario. And that could have been because they missed their deadline or something else. But people were looking at this and they were going, man, it looks like the ETFs are off for now. And that just really wasn't the case. In fact, we actually saw it coming out from Bloomberg Intelligence, or the Bloomberg Intelligence was saying that they still estimate that there is a 90% likelihood of a Bitcoin ETF receiving approval this month in January. So, I'm kind of with them here. I don't agree with Bloomberg stuff on everything, but this is one of the ones that I will. I'll kind of read this and say, hey, a 90% likelihood, I would say it's still on. Again, the large majority of Bitcoin ETFs are still very much there, and they weren't mentioned in this. And I'm pretty sure that any news, publisher, if they would have seen that a BlackRock delay or a BlackRock rejection, BlackRock's the largest asset manager on the planet. If they would have seen a delay, that would have been the biggest news headline, but they didn't, and that's why it wasn't mentioned here. So now what are we seeing? Well, we're seeing that narrative shift that I was talking about. Here's how a spot Bitcoin ETF issuer, and really how they're all anticipating how everything's going to play out up to this approval. We're seeing lots of other articles like this one saying that the ETFs are coming fast and everyone is getting ready. And this is what I mean by the narrative shift. Again, now that all the FUD has been cleared up from this whole delay story that was coming out from a single source, might I mention, I want to add that in there. We had pretty much a single source reporting all this stuff, from which there was a lot of, unclarity that kind of came out of that situation. But now the narrative has completely shifted back toward this idea that these Bitcoin ETFs are coming and they are coming fast, and here's how everyone is preparing. So there's a lot of really positive stuff that we're seeing on that end. And then another thing that I don't have pulled up here, but I just briefly wanted to mention on the fundamental side of things, is that we saw Ethereum gas fees. And I know this is kind of pivoting away as we get into the technicals in just a second. But we saw Ethereum gas fees yesterday get under $1. And for a long time, we've seen gas prices like 10, 20 bucks per transaction. And yesterday, it was around 90 cents. And even today, this morning, I think it was around $1.30. I think I saw it at $1.34 this morning when I was checking Etherscan. And Ethereum transactions, are starting to become a lot cheaper. Could that be because a lot more people are using Solana and Say and a lot of these other layer ones, Celestia? Maybe. But I think we also really have this really big Ethereum upgrade called the Ethereum Dencon upgrade that's happening in the first quarter. At least it's scheduled to happen in the first quarter of this year, that is supposed to improve scalability, pretty much all around, make transactions faster, gas fees cheaper, make Ethereum have a little bit more throughput. And it's supposed to not only improve the base chain, the Ethereum layer 1, but also a lot of these layer 2s as well. So there's some positive stuff happening in the background. And with this, prices are kind of going all over the place. We rose up to a new high. There was all the ETF FUD stuff about it being delayed. It came down. People realized it was fake. It pumped all the way back up. Now, the markets are open. Bitcoin's consolidating back around this 20-day moving average, which is the blue line. And the kind of good news here is that there is a method behind the madness of what's happening over here on the Bitcoin chart, right? We have a really nice kind of parallel channel where we're going from the support to resistance to support back towards resistance. And we're kind of just bouncing around inside of this channel here. So it's not like we're seeing any kind of like crazy bearish movements. We're not seeing Bitcoin break down through the 50. It actually respected it really, really well here, which is a good thing to see from a lot of the bulls. We're not seeing like a head and shoulders. We're not seeing a descending triangle. We're not seeing anything too crazy come out from the bears. The other kind of cool thing is that even on the Ethereum chart, we're seeing that Ethereum is retesting its previous high here of around 2,100 as a previous area of resistance now turned into a current level of support. And Ethereum's also managing to hold on this 50-day moving average as well. Seeing kind of a similar story over here with the total 2 chart, which is just the representation of the altcoin market. And this guy is not only bouncing off of its previous resistance, but also the 50-day moving average as well. Again, a lot of these things are positive ones to see. And then just the final thing that I want to bring up over here is that Bitcoin dominance is seeing a full-on V-shaped recovery off of its 200-day moving average, which it should. This is a great textbook, healthy thing to see from a technical analysis perspective. And when we're seeing that Bitcoin dominance is respected so well, again, a lot of people are fans of this. Now, is this a good thing for altcoins? Probably not, because altcoins are getting outperformed in comparison to Bitcoin right now. And what I mean by that is on the current day, Bitcoin's down about 2%. Altcoins, you can see from the right of my chart, most of them are down between 6 and 8%-ish, maybe 6 to 9% across the board. So Bitcoin is holding up really well. It's holding a lot of value. And to briefly kind of explain the concept of Bitcoin dominance and what we're seeing here, as Bitcoin dominance rises, Bitcoin is outperforming altcoins. Typically, Bitcoin dominance gets to a really high point. And then as it consolidates or falls, we see altcoins run, which is why we saw like these crazy runs in a lot of these altcoin projects. We saw most of these runs happen while Bitcoin dominance was fading, whether it was like Avalanche, Celestia, etc. A lot of these ones. And I guess the final thing that I wanted to say on my chart here is kind of going back to the original theme of beware the bear, or beware the bear trap, I guess to be clear, is that we're going to see a lot of moves down here. I think that we are going to see more candles like the one that we saw just a few days ago, where it was like a double-digit candle to the downside. We had these bigger moves, and that's to be expected in a bull market. If you go all the way back, and I just want to briefly show this, I think I've shown it before, but I just want to briefly show it in this run. Even in the previous bull run over here, we can see that on the way up, Bitcoin has its double-digit pullbacks. I mean, here's a 20% pullback. Here's another 10% pullback. Even right here, this is another 10% pullback. Right here is a 20% pullback. Right here, this will be a 30% pullback. Right here, this would be another 26, 27% pullback. And the list goes on as we're leading up to new all-time highs. Bitcoin has shown that it's able to do, it's not only able, it's actually likely to do multiple double-digit pullbacks. We're talking 10, 20, 30% pullbacks to the upside in a bull market, and then rally to new all-time highs afterwards. So I kind of just want to give this a little bit of a warning here and say beware the bear traps, because guess what? In the future, it's actually likely that we see a 10, 20, 30% move to the downside, catch a lot of orders, and then rally back to the upside. So for the people who are not ready for those, again, I'm not giving you legal, financial, or tax advice, but I think it's something that everyone should at least be aware of, looking at kind of how Bitcoin has performed during this stage of the market cycle, last time around, a few years ago. So that's one of the things that I'm certainly expecting when I do see these double-digit drops. Guess what? I'm not getting concerned. In fact, these are my favorite areas to do my dip buying on. So what I actually do, and what I like to do, is do something I call order fishing. I'll place my orders, 10, 15, 20, 30% below. And during these flash crashes that we see, I'll be able to catch them. And, arguably, I'm getting in some of the best buying opportunities in comparison to buying when the market's already rallying to new yearly highs or new all-time highs. I'm not really buying the top. Instead, I am buying low and selling high. It's the age-old concept that a million of us have heard so many times before. But that is going to go ahead and wrap up today's video, everyone. I hope all of you did enjoy. And again, if you like the content that we make here, all that we ask is that you check out the links in the description down below. You can check out Altcoin Alert, Crypt Nation, and everything else that we got going on. And maybe you just want to watch the YouTube channels. Then you can check us out at the Crypto 101 podcast on YouTube. You can also check out the podcast itself. And of course, we have this channel being the Crypto Analyst, which I humbly get to run and very much enjoy doing. So thank you all for watching. Again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we will see all of you in the next video.